Hey guys, so I took a break. It's actually my birthday week. March 2nd is my birthday, which coincidentally is also Dr. Seuss Day. It's the author's birthday of these awesome books. And that brings me to this video. A week ago, I was with my friend. I haven't had time to keep up with news or anything like that. I've been really busy in my personal life. And a friend of mine, she's a conservative, Republican, Fox News, Trump person, had on her Facebook, Instagram about Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head being gender neutralized. They're getting rid of the Mr. and Mrs. and it's just going to be Potato Head or something like that. I don't really follow that. I don't care. Thought it was funny that she labeled it as they're canceling this great tradition of these toys. And what's my son going to play with, right? Her son, I think her kids are the same age as my kids. And my kids don't know about Mr. Potato Head. They don't care about it. My kids have iPads and like electronic toys and toys from like this century. Mr. Potato Head, I don't know how long it's been around. I don't think I've ever had one when I was a kid. I knew about it growing up. I think it was a TV show at one point. They had like a TV show for it or something. Don't care about it now. It's 2021. And I laughed because I'm like, oh, is this what the people on the right are worried about when 500,000 people we just passed that mark of 500,000 people dying of this pandemic, and they're worried about Mr. Potato Head's toys that are irrelevant in 2020 when kids all have iPads and have toys that we could only dream of when we were kids. No one's playing with Mr. Potato Head, right? If anything, the company, and it's their decision. It's not like a politician that's telling them to change it, or a group of lobbyists is telling them they need to change Mr. Potato Head and gender neutralize them. It's the company that makes these stupid toys that no one wants to buy anymore. So they're thinking, you know what, we need to sell these toys, and no one's buying them. Everyone's getting like modern toys. Let's just gender neutralize them, get it on the news, and maybe a new generation of people look into it and pick it up. Don't know what's gonna happen with that, but anyway, this video is about Dr. Seuss, right? Week later, the same person put something about Dr. Seuss, and I grew up loving Dr. Seuss. It's in my life because we share the same birthdays, and it's also National Reading Day. I grew up reading. I loved reading as a kid. I loved writing as a kid. In fact, the first achievement I've ever had in my entire life, my first academic achievement, was an award I got for writing a short story in the third grade. I got this prize. It was really cool. At the time, I didn't really know much about it. I just loved writing, and it's about my trip to the moon. And I had the award, the certificate at my parents' house, and I just found it like a couple years ago. I was like, oh wow, I never remember winning this, but it was like something that made me proud when I was a kid. Like I won this thing, and people liked something that I created, and it also got me interested in creating content and literature and writing and poetry. And that all comes from Dr. Seuss, growing up with these books as a kid. We didn't have the books. If you look at my kids' bookshelves now, half of that stuff didn't exist when I was a kid. No, I'm lying. 90% of the stuff didn't exist when I was a kid. As a kid, most of the books were written by white men, many of whom may have been racist, many of whom were not writing books for people that look like me. But a lot of my children's books were written by white men. My kids now have the privilege to live in this time where 90% of the books on their bookshelves, and we buy books for my kids all the time, are written by people of color, are written by progressive-minded people that write without bias against other cultures and other parts of the world. They write with an open mind. So my kids are exposed to that. When I was a kid, this is all we had, and this was like the best of the best, right, compared to all the books we've had. And now I read this to my kids, I realize how simple this is. And this is not like on my kids' bookshelves. It's not like something that's the top of the shelf. It's not top shelf books anymore. This is something you keep in your house. So what's happening now? My friend had this thing. I didn't know much about it, but I got panicked. I'm like, why would they can't get rid of Dr. Seuss books? They're books for kids. You know, I know it's not perfect. I know these books are written in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and I think the author wrote the last of these books in the 90s before he passed away. And they canceling the book. So I Googled, I searched for it. I saw Fox News had a lot of stuff in it because they seem to be, everyone else is talking about the pandemic and people dying and vaccination, but Fox News had this and like all the highlights. So I just clicked in a 10-minute clip. I think it was Tucker Carlson and Laura Ingraham. They had Trump Jr. in there, Donald Trump Jr., talking about the left is canceling everything in America, and it was coming off the speeches at the CPAC, where they're talking about that America is being canceled. Stop the cancellation. First it was Make America Great Again, then Keep America Great Again. Now Stop the Cancellation seems to be the next thing these right people are like trying to promote as a slogan. Stop the cancellation. This is not cancel culture, right? Let me explain to you what's happening, right? The catalog, the original stories of Dr. Seuss is about 40 to 50 books. I Googled, I couldn't find an exact number, but I'll say it's like 45 books, just to keep it in the middle, right? The stories in the books that's being not canceled, but pulled from production, six stories, right? And of those 6 stories, if you already own the book, you could keep the book. If you could buy a used one, you could buy a used one easily. These books have been around for years. It's so easy to buy one of these books used. I'm sure the stoppage of production of those certain books, values may go up. I don't know. But you could still buy a Dr. Seuss book that is pulled from production today, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. You can still buy those books because they'll be on the used books market. Right? These are people that don't read books that thinks when they see a headline like Dr. Seuss pulls books, all the books are canceled. No, it doesn't work like that. Second of all, the people that's deciding to do this are the people that own the rights to the books, right? The estate company or the ownership of the Dr. Seuss catalog. They're deciding to do this, right? They're not only pulling production of those stories, but they're modifying it. So, say, I know one of the stories is very offensive to Asian, Chinese people in the country, not the country of China, but those group of people who now live in America and live other places of the world, right? So they're trying to maybe like change it a little bit, tweak it so it's modernized and more, oh, I don't feel offended by it. I don't feel offended by that if I read it to my kids and we're Chinese, right? That's kind of what they're doing. It's like if I wrote something today in 2021 and in 3031, right? Way down the line, my thing makes a lot of money, it's big, everyone's reading it. My great grandkids were like, yo, what the hell was granddad thinking back then? Like, you can't have this stuff now. Like, so they decide they own my stuff, right? Because they're my descendants, right? They have every right, right? I can't complain from the grave, but they have every right as owners of my product, of something they inherited, to do whatever they want with it, right? If they want to burn it, stop production, it's their product. They're not canceling something else, someone else's product. They're not canceling, but they're tweaking their own product, right? That's all this is. It's not cancel culture. It's not destroying American heritage or anything like that. Dr. Seuss books, 6 books out of 45 books. And not even only 45 books, but you have to think of the adaptations of these stories. It's hundreds and hundreds of adaptations in other books, comic books, movies. It's hundreds and hundreds of adaptations of these original 45 stories. So it's not, you're not canceling anything, right? You could still have access to a Dr. Seuss book, a good one, right? So I think it's just fear tactics to get Trump reelected or sell this divide to certain Americans that feel like leftist progressive culture is canceling old school, I won't even say values, because the people that complain about this are people that wave Confederate flags around and probably wear a Ku Klux Klan mask at rallies. So times are changing and you have to change. And I guess the Mr. Potato Head people that make that toy realize that people don't want this crap anymore. Kids want iPads and power toys and Beyblades and things like that. They don't want Mr. Potato Head. What kid do you know is going to sit down for hours and put arms and eyes and mouths in something that looks like a big potato? It's not a happening toy in 2021. So they're tweaking it. They're doing what they need to do to make the product sell to survive. Dr. Seuss, obviously the company that owns it's their stuff, right? If they want to stop production on all the books, they could do that because it's their stuff to do, right? If they want to burn all the books, they could do that, right? They're not coming into your house and taking the books you already own, right? And I think it's the same thing with gun control. People, this is a mentality that if they tweak something or modify something so it suits the time, suits the era, if I own something already, like a gun in my house, they're gonna come take it away. They're taking away our guns. They're taking away our books. You know, it does not work like that. And if you read a book or you buy books or work with books, you realize stopping production and 6 stories or 6 books out of a lineup of almost 50 books and an extended universe lineup of hundreds and hundreds of Dr. Seuss books. You're not stopping. You're not even putting a dent in it, right? I just think it just needs to stop. It's this fear mongering on the right, and I think it's just pathetic, right? It's pathetic. Nothing's being canceled.